so you have to be aware of that fear. Number 4 is you got to network like crazy. And people think that in this world where a like, a link, a share, and a follow means something, you have to do more than that. You can't just, follow someone on Twitter. You have to engage them. Now, there's a million ways you can do that. But if you don't make connecting a priority, you're not going to have that sort of advantage. Number 5, and this one surprised me, and I don't think I do a good job of it, is you have to be really aggressive with the way you show your gratitude. And the aggressive part came from one of the people I interviewed. And she said that what helped her kind of get across that gap is she went back and researched everyone who had helped her get to where she was in her career. And she aggressively showed gratitude. And I was like, what do you mean by aggressively? She said, I didn't just send him a text that said THX 4, the number 4, helping me. She said, I really went out of my way and did things for people, whether it was taking them out to dinner, whether it was, buying them a bottle of wine, whether it was promoting the crap out of them, to let them know I appreciated them. She goes, the more aggressive I was with gratitude, the more business I got. And I started doing some of that probably more than I've done in the past. Yep. Number 6, you've got to deliver on all projects. You've got to do good work. And I hope I don't have a problem with that one, but you've got to be very clear that, hard work is the ticket into the game. And so many people have said that, that's one of the things that's held them back is that they've skated on some things that they've done. Number 7 is you got to accept that change is going to happen. I mean, look at the meetings business. In the 8 years I've been working as a speaker, I have seen, a pendulum go across and back as to what people are looking for as far as content and the quality and the style of the speakers. And it changes. And you just have to realize that whatever you do, that I don't like the book, Who Moved My Cheese, but you have to realize the cheese is going to get moved constantly. And you had better be watching for it. It's the old adage of, skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where it is. Yeah, you have to do that. Number 8 is you have to ask other people for help. And so this year I have a mastermind group with some other speakers, and I just got really raw and asked them, what did they think I needed to do? And it was some little things like you needed to have a new PowerPoint design. You needed to take it up a notch. You were going to be on bigger stages. You needed to buy new suits. And you don't like your friends telling you that your suits are baggy, but I lost 30 pounds. And they're like, you need to go buy all new clothes. And it's expensive to buy clothes, and I'm cheap. But I asked for help, and then I had to listen to the advice that I got. Number 9 is try new things. And one of the things I started to do on such a micro, non-business basis, but it's been awesome, is on Mondays when I go to Starbucks, I tell the barista they get to pick my drink. I call it Barista's Choice Day. And it reminds me.
I love that.
It reminds me to try new things. So I always get a grande non-fat vanilla latte, like every single time for the last 10 years that Starbucks has existed in my town or anywhere I travel. And so on Mondays, I tell them, I don't want one of the regular drinks that are on the menu. I want something I've probably never had. And Kiki, you've never seen a 20-year-old person behind the counter be more perplexed. It freaks them out to give them that much power. And I will tell you, I've learned some things that peppermint and caramel shouldn't go together.
Wow.
Some of the drinks are great. Some of them are too sweet. Some of them, I tell them my parameter is I want a grande drink. I want it to be hot. And I want it to be a coffee drink because I don't want a tea or a chai or anything like that.
Right.
And I will tell you, some of them are great. Some of them are awful. But I let them decide. And I try to use that as an example to myself to try new things in the way I market, in how I position myself, some of the stories I tell on stage. I've got to be growing and changing. And so I'm taking that advice. And that's actually been very interesting. And then the 10th one, is you got to believe in yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what 250 people have given me the same 10 answers as to what they can do to get farther across that gap. And it's not changing. I'm trying to grow that survey to 1,000. And I'm not seeing anything changing as we're getting more people taking the survey. It's pretty universal across the board that people feel there's this gap and they're struggling with how to get across it. And then the people who are getting across it are telling you, this is what I do. And it's simple.
Right. So of those there are some that stuck out for me too. And some that I feel I know that there are areas where when I approach them, I will grow more. It's something I've learned. But this being aggressive with gratitude, boy, I really hadn't thought about that. I I practice gratitude. I write gratitudes out every day. I try to think about thanking those who have helped me, but being aggressive with attitude is definitely something unique.
Although you should be aggressive with attitude too. But.
Gratitude. Yes. Gratitude. Yes. And aggressive with attitude. I mean, watch out. But no, aggressive with gratitude. Such an amazing one. I think I'm going to have to test that out and watch out. JP Murray's on here. He better watch out. I'll be aggressive with
I will say that it's been a reminder for me, to really be thankful of people. Most of my business comes from referrals.
Yeah.
Just across the board. I do marketing, I do social media, I do some ads on Facebook and Twitter. And if I go back and look at 9 of my last 10 clients, it's somebody sat in the audience and told somebody else about me. And so when people do that, I've just gotten really aggressive with how I let them know it matters. And what's happening is people are doing it again, and not just one time. They're doing it multiple times because the people like to be thanked.
So what about this piece, though? So they've identified the things that actually worked. These people who've made it to the other side, who've been successful. What about the people who are still clamoring to get there? And they say, okay, you've told me all 10 of these things, and I'm still not doing it. I'm still not quite getting there. Is it a matter of tough love and just like, sorry, guys, you just got to do this? Or is there something they're missing?
I think for the people I've talked to, it's really the being aware that you're on a journey. And so even baby steps take you closer. So I have a 15-year-old who her desire for about the last year has been to, at some point in her life, hike the Appalachian Trail. And that's like a 6-month commitment. And I know nothing about it. But the more serious she gets about it, the more we've been doing research. And she's like, oh, after college, I think I'll just go do it by myself. And you're like, you can't go do it by yourself, So I made a deal with her the other day. If she ends up with she's a really smart kid. If she ends up with a full ride scholarship to college, I will make the commitment after college to hike the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
And then my wife said, be careful what you wish for, because she could probably pull off a full ride scholarship somewhere. And the point of it that she and I have been talking about is sometimes you take 0 days. And I said, what's a 0 day? And she was explaining to me, that's a day where you just don't feel like walking 20 miles. You can't take too many of them. You have to realize that you're on a journey, and you can't take 2 in a row. And so that thought of doing what my daughter calls a through hike, I know nothing about hiker terms, but a long 6-month through hike, you don't do it in sections, you just keep going, involves just remembering that you're going to make, some days you're going to make less progress, some days you're going to make others. And it's like I said about building a scaffolding across that gap, as opposed to a bridge, and just realize that you're never going to get all the way across. And so that's what I've been working on with people. And we actually customized this for the meetings business with MPI Pittsburgh. They brought me in to do their monthly MPI meeting. And I did a special survey on SurveyMonkey where I asked the same questions plus a bunch of questions about the meetings industry. And so we customized this to what's the potential of the meetings you plan, and what do you have to do to get closer to those results that you desire? And it was interesting because it wasn't any different really than talking to the individual. I mean, it was different answers, but it was sort of that same process of creating it as a journey and being really, really focused. And it came back to plans, purpose, and people.
That's so amazing. Plans, purpose, and people. So, okay, if you don't mind, let's transition a little bit to application of this, and also a little bit into the speaking industry. A lot of people who tune in to this, a lot of people who follow me online, and I'm sure your audience obviously is following you online. A lot of times they ask questions about both getting into professional speaking, what the difference is between somebody who's a breakout speaker and a keynote speaker, and the actual different types of roles that speakers play when it comes to a meeting. So while I have you on here, and you kind of know all about it, so while I have you on here, can we go into that a little bit and do a little speaker 101, and then maybe bridge that or scaffold that into talking about how you've grown your own business and what you're trying to do as a speaker?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So let's just start out at the 101 level. So what do people need to understand about the different types of roles that speakers play when they go into working with meeting planners and coming into a meeting?
Well, I think the first thing we have to remember is that a speaker is not a commodity. A speaker isn't a speaker, isn't a speaker. So there are, people call me all the time and they're interested in getting in the speaking business, and they see the celebrities. So they see Tony Robbins, or they see Colin Powell, or Harvey Mackay, or people who either got famous for something and then became speakers, or people who grew up within the speaking and authoring business and yet became famous beyond just speaking at conferences. So I always say it's like a triangle. The very tippy top is the celebrities. And that's, for the most part, what everybody sees when they think of professional speakers. At the bottom of the pyramid, and that pyramid's really small bottom, but it should be like 400 miles long. People see what I call the industry speakers.
Right.
And these are people who speak for free or for a very low fee because they're there to either promote. A lot of them are consultants. They're there to promote their consulting business. They want to support the industry they're in. It's a lot of CEOs who just like to do it. And they have a little bit of a soapbox so they can speak in their industry. Some people have an agenda that they're trying to sell something. Some people just want to give back. Some people are putting their toe in the water in the speaking business to see what it's like. And so that's the other thing that everybody sees, because there's so many of them. But then in the middle of the pyramid, it's what I call the working professional speaker. And these are people who, if you saw them in the airport, if you hadn't seen them speak, you wouldn't know who they were. It's not like Colin Powell, where you're like, hey, that's Colin Powell. And there are thousands of them. I think the National Speakers Association has said there's 56,000 people who call themselves speakers. And I think that's worldwide, but I don't have that study in front of me. And yet only like 3,500 people are members of the National Speakers Association. So there's a lot of people. When I started in the business, if you went onto LinkedIn and did a search in Austin, Texas for speakers, who you saw were people who were working a lot as speakers. Now everybody comes up. My accountant comes up, and I'm like, why? And he goes, we hired a PR firm who told us we should all list ourselves as speakers because it gives us credibility. So the problem is, as a meeting planner, if you're searching for a speaker, you don't know if someone has spoken one time this year or 65 times this year. Now, I'm not saying I'm good, bad, or indifferent, but I'll tell you, if somebody spoke 65 times, they're probably better. Like everything, the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
They're probably better than the person who spoke once. But so the first thing is, it's not a commodity. They're all different. And within those three areas, there's different types of speakers. There's famous industry speakers. There's politicians. There's Olympic athletes. There's people who are famous because they wrote a book. And then down in and when I say down, I don't mean better or worse. I don't think any of these are better or worse. They're just different. So that's the first thing we have to identify, is what type of a speaker are we looking for? And what's the purpose? What's that reason that we want to have somebody? And that pendulum I mentioned earlier, lots of times it's this tug of war between content, like, oh, they're so smart, they have a PhD, they did all this research, and wow, they have a great personality, they know how to captivate while they're on stage. And there seems to be this swing that happens every 5 to 10 years where people want really entertaining speakers, or they want really smart and they don't care if they suck. And my argument is you don't have to give up one to have the other. There's a lot of really smart people with really good content who know how to captivate an audience and who will put effort into it. So it's knowing who do you want and why. But I think for people on the planner side, I think it's hard to vet a great speaker. I just think it's difficult to find somebody who has a lot of skill, because unless you've seen them, you don't know. I mean, even videos can be, if someone did 4 one-hour videos, they're going to have a couple of 10-second clips where they're fabulous. They put them together.
Now they have these things that come, and I think they're great. If you're a great speaker and you want to get a beautiful video, a beautiful speaker reel, there are these different things that are coming out where it's like, you'll get a little bit of coaching. We're going to record you up on a beautiful stage and have everybody clapping and standing ovations and all of this stuff just to create your speaker reel. And they do like 20 of them all the same day. And you're hoping that they're all really good. But I mean, let's face it. Some of those people have like their little 10-minute thing. And
so I had a brand new speaker. He'd done 5 speeches in his life, do a small breakout at a big conference. He had 18 people in his breakout.
Yes.
But he asked the meeting planner and he brought a videographer. He asked, because he didn't have any video of him speaking because he was brand new. He asked the videographer if during the break, when no one was using their general session room, he could go in and use the main stage. And he went onto the main stage of this giant thing and filmed all these little clips of him speaking. And he was so proud of himself because it looked like he was on one of these super produced stages.
Yeah.
And for me, it kind of was like, ooh, there was something disingenuous